All right, guys, we're back again for another one. And I hate to say I told you so, but I did call it. I did call the fact that Fatima was possibly not pregnant, but I still could be wrong about that. But as we can see from what happened with Christy and Fatima and the ultrasound, things didn't quite turn out right. But of course, as always, we're going to wait and get into that a lot later. And also, I just want to throw it out there once more. R.I.P. Dale, you're a crazy ass. You will be missed because we always love to have a little spice in the town, but of course we have Randall for that at the moment, so I think we'll be okay. All right, so anyway, let's get into it. So the episode begins with Tabitha and Jim having a big argument about how she felt like she actually should have done more when she was out in the real world. Now, I do know that there were a lot of comments in defense of Tabitha saying that where would she actually have found time to do more being in the hospital and then going to see Henry and all of this other stuff. And also the fact that the story would sound so crazy to tell the police officers and all of that stuff, but I still argue the fact that she could have tried. Yes, she would have sounded crazy and it more than likely would have not turned out well, especially the fact since she actually escaped the hospital, but still, she didn't try, so we didn't actually get to find out how that would have turned out. But I do have to say, because although I am playing devil's advocate right now, I do side with the people who are like, yeah, she really couldn't have done much. I agree. She really couldn't have done much. But the fact that she didn't try it is actually why she's feeling this guilt at the moment. But anyway, her and Jim get into this big argument and it kind of stems back from, the situation with Thomas and their family just falling apart. And we also have to remember that they were kind of on the midst of a divorce at the time when the show even first started. So their marriage was definitely already rocky. But for the most part, we can tell that Tabitha just feels guilty and she feels like she should have done more and she just really wants to pick an argument because Jim's over in the bed sleeping. He's knocked out and you can just tell she's on edge and wants to pick an argument right now. And unfortunately, Jim fell for the bait. All right, so after the Matthews family drama, we hop over to the bar with Jade and Boyd. And Jade is trying to fill Boyd in on all the details regarding the trees and then Tabitha going through the lighthouse and ending up in Camden, Maine. And of course, Jade still has this little diagram up in the bar. And just as a little hint, I'm going to throw this out there for later. I'm going to let you guys know right now, we actually do find out what the numbers mean by the end of the season. That's all I'm going to say. If you get any leaks from anywhere else, it's not going to be from me. But I will go ahead and throw out that much at the moment. But anyway, Boyd informs Jade that there is another tree with bottles, but it's not a portal tree. And of course, Jade wasn't aware of this, so Boyd has to let him know about it. He tells Jade about the date 1864 that he found on that tree, and Jade also has an 1864 date on his board as well. So Jade is definitely still putting the pieces together right now, and speaking of wormholes and all of that stuff, trying to understand the faraway trees. But like I said, keep in mind, the numbers actually mean something and this is going somewhere. So yeah. Then over at Colony House with Victor and his dad Henry, Victor's like, hey, I gotta go do some dangerous shit, which means he's gotta go down in the monster caves and find Jasper. And he's like, hey dad, I don't want you to get hurt. But Henry, being a stand-up dad, wanting to make up for that lost time, he's like, hey, I'm here with you. Let's go do some dangerous shit. So he doesn't really know what he's getting himself into, but he has seen the monsters before, so he understands the threat for the most part, and he understands what Victor has to go do. So good on you, Henry. Then we jump over to the hospital where Boyd pays a visit, wanting to check in on Randall because of course he still feels the guilt from that whole situation. But like I've already said before, Boyd is still justified for leaving Randall. The man really didn't have a choice. But the good news about this whole situation is that Christy has told Boyd that they do have an ultrasound machine and the fact that Fatima can take a look at the baby, which we already know that this is coming, but hey, this is a recap, review, theories, you know how it goes. Then we end up jumping over to Colony House where Boyd is paying Ellis and Fatima a visit because he wants to tell them the good news about the ultrasound machine. But they also have some news to tell him about what's been going on with Fatima and the whole rotten shit situation. So yeah, he's family, so might as well inform him as well. Then back in town over at the motel pool, Tabitha pays Donna a visit while she's covering up Dale's mutilated, stuck in the wall body. And of course, Donna would be the only one who had a really close connection to Dale because that's her husband in real life. Not that that has anything to do with their performances, but hey, there's another connection there. So then for a split second, we cut over to the monster caves where we see Victor and Henry arriving, and Victor takes out his little soldier men because of course he's planning to lay those down like breadcrumbs so they can find their way back out of the caves. But of course, before things get exciting, we cut back over to Colony House with Ellis, Boyd, and Fatima as we see them actually getting the news about the ultrasound machine. Then we jump back over to the hospital with Marielle and Randall, and his scars are looking wicked. I mean, they're looking crazy as hell, but kind of cool at the same time. Sort of like a Joker vibe going on there. So yeah, I think it matches Randall's vibe. Then over at Kenny's place, while he's still, of course, mourning his family and losing his mom, shit's been hard on him, of course. He comes across Julie smoking outside because, of course, she's going through some shit too, and hopefully that ganja is helping her out. Then we cut back down in the monster caves for a split second with Henry and Victor. And of course, I think Henry is starting to regret coming down into the caves with Victor. He's like, oh shit, what exactly did I get myself into? But hey man, you're here now, Henry. Tough it out. You're down in the monster caves with the most knowledgeable person in Fromland, so I think you'll be alright. Then we jump back to Colony House as Fatima and Ellis have decided to go get the ultrasound and they're on their way out. And Elgin snaps a picture of Fatima. Now, of course, we haven't gotten to see the photos of these pictures that he's been snapping just quite yet. That the camera's definitely got some ghost elements to it. We just haven't gotten to really dive into it yet. But I'm willing to bet that the picture that he took of Fatima has some weird shit going on with it. But of course, hopefully we'll get to find that out later. Then out in the woods, as Jade finally arrives to the other bottle tree, subconscious Tom pops up. And of course, this is just another moment for us to see Jade's psyche, but we're ready to get some damn answers. So of course, this is just the usual. Then back over at the Matthews with Ethan and Tabitha, while they're downstairs at the kitchen table chatting, Tabitha ends up hearing a weird noise coming from upstairs. She walks up there and we get a nice little fun jump scare of the Uncooey dirty little white kids.
Uncooey, cooey, oh my God.
Tabitha's telling her that she's trying to help them, but of course they keep chanting the Uncooey word, and of course we still don't know what the hell that means at this time. Now, I do have a strange theory at this time, because this is the first time we've actually ever seen the dirty little white kids inside of one of the houses, I believe. This could be symbolic of the fact that maybe the kids used to live in those houses in the town. And maybe the kids that Tabitha are seeing at this very moment are the ones that used to live in this particular house. And of course, this is sort of like a sad reality check moment for Kenny, but Kenny goes to visit Donna over at the motel pool, and he confronts her about the fact that he wants to now move into Colony House because there's nothing really left behind for him at his old place where he used to live with his family. And it does suck because there's some crazy shit that goes on at Colony House, like those weird sex parties, which Kenny does mention to Donna at this moment, but of course I don't think we've actually seen those since like season 2. But yeah, those weird old people sex parties are pretty fucking crazy. Colony House is wild. Plus, it's just not a smart place to live anyway, because the shit like what happened with Colony House Massacre with Kevin can still happen. But yeah, good luck, Kenny. Then we cut over to the bar where Tabitha and Ethan rolled up on Jade while he's still, working with the numbers, and he finds out that the numbers on both bottle trees are actually exactly the same and they repeat themselves. This is a very big clue, guys, to what the numbers actually are, or what they mean. Think about things that repeat themselves, numbers that repeat themselves, and think about what this actually is in relation to. It's a very interesting clue here. It's actually a very big clue. And if you can actually figure this out, you can actually figure out how this season is going to end. It's definitely going to be hard to figure out right off the bat because the numbers are in a weird way similar to something else that is not exactly numbers related, but sorta kinda it is. But like I said, the numbers being exactly the same on both trees and the fact that all the numbers repeat themselves is a very big clue as to what this pattern means and what it is in relation to later on. Then over at the hospital, we get some news that Randall is more than likely going to be moving in with Marielle and Christy. Sounds like a lot of fun, maybe? And also, Randall wants to bring it out of Marielle, who seems like she's been pretending so far, since we get to see Julie and Randall going through all of this stress and trauma from what happened before with the music box and the chamber. But Marielle has been doing a pretty good job at pretending like nothing's wrong with her. She's been putting on a smile and playing a part, but Randall's trying to pick away at this facade that she's putting on, and he's like, hey, I know you've been going through some shit too, but we don't get to figure out in this moment why Marielle hasn't been having any clear signs of trauma right away. Maybe in some weird way, Marielle is actually behind some of this. Or maybe we just haven't gotten to see her connection to all of this just yet and how she's been dealing with her trauma. But it is pretty weird when we haven't been seeing Marielle have any real outward traumatic experiences when we see Julie and Randall having a pretty stressful time right now. So what exactly could this mean? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Then back down in the monster caves with Henry and Victor, they finally are able to maneuver their way to an area where they finally find Jasper. But the monsters begin to wake up, so they grab him and get the hell out of there. But at this time, they probably get one of the creepiest scenes, one of the creepiest moments we've seen so far out of all of the seasons of the show, for sure. And we hear a woman speaking to Victor, and she tells him,
if you keep coming down here, one of these days, will make you stay.
And actually, this part was just so creepy to me because when they shine the light on the woman over in the darkness and we just get to see her pale skin and the light and everything shining on her, this was actually a pretty damn creepy scene. And him and Henry just haul ass out of the caves after this with Jasper in hand. So that was a pretty wild scene. You guys let me know what you thought about that. I thought that was pretty damn creepy, especially seeing the creature in her normal human form when we know usually the monsters are in their normal monster form down in the monster caves. They don't actually really feel a need to disguise themselves as humans when they're in the caves. So it's pretty strange that we actually get to see this particular monster disguising herself down in the caves when she starts to talk to Victor. And this is going to sound pretty simplistic, but I think the only reason why we actually even see this monster in human form down in the cave speaking to Victor, because we actually don't ever get to see the monsters talk in a human voice when they're in their monster form. So I don't actually think that the monsters can communicate with humans unless they are in a human form. Because when they're in monster form, they're basically just growling and yelling and screaming. So they have to be in this form to communicate with other humans. I know that's very simplistic, but I'm pretty sure that this is the reason given the context and anecdotal evidence that we already have from multiple seasons. Then after Victor and Henry get back to Victor's little 18-wheeler clubhouse area, he tells Henry, okay, we finally got Jasper now we gotta make his ass talk. So okay, let's see the ventriloquist dummy speak. Let's see it. Then we finally jump back to the hospital with Fatima and Ellis and Boyd and everyone else with the ultrasound machine to get one of the big moments that we've been waiting for out of this episode. There's two big moments we're waiting on. We're waiting to see the Polaroids get revealed, hopefully with Elgin, and we want to see what's going on with Fatima and the baby. And this is where we find out that there is no baby inside of Fatima. So what the hell is going on? She could technically still be pregnant with some sort of ghost baby that no one can see. That could be a possibility, or maybe she just isn't pregnant at all, and this is her full monster transformation happening before our eyes. What is actually going on here? I definitely got to hear you guys' theories on this. Is Fatima dying? Is she turning into a monster? Or is she actually still pregnant and they're just not able to see the baby with this normal human equipment that they're using? Because no logic really makes sense in Fromland. But maybe she still could be pregnant, but they just can't see. What do you guys think? Then we finally jump to the second most scene that we've been waiting to see in this episode, which is Elgin waiting for the Polaroid photos to develop. And while Elgin is looking at a photo of Fatima, we see the creepy ass kimono lady slowly comes into visibility behind Fatima. And then she appears behind Elgin and grabs his ass. And after she grabs Elgin, she tells him that I can save all of you. I can help all of you go home.
I can save you. I can save all of you.
So I don't know if we should really trust this or not, because this is still a very similar situation to what happened with Sarah. Sarah was hearing voices as well. There was someone who told her that if she killed Ethan, they could all go home. So of course, this is more than likely another fake out to a situation that is probably more than likely going to go nowhere. And of course, we aren't sure about this, but since this is somewhat of a similar situation that we've seen before, but it is a little different because Fatima has to give birth and no one actually needs to die in this situation. At the moment, from what we can see, it is still a very similar situation. And we also need to talk about the fact that the creepy kimono lady appeared behind Fatima's photo. Out of all the pictures she could have appeared in, she appeared in a photo with Fatima. And the next question is now, which is a question a lot of people have been wondering about, and there's already a lot of theories floating around surrounding this question is, what if Fatima is the creepy kimono lady? Of course, they do dress very similar. They do kind of look very similar. And now the fact that she's actually appearing in a photo with Fatima, what exactly does this now mean? This could definitely be an older version of Fatima from a different time. This could explain why her skin looks the way it does, why she looks all sort of decomposed and old like a dead person. This could definitely be Fatima from an earlier time. So instead of speaking directly to Fatima to help her, is speaking to Elgin, because Elgin does have a weird connection to the town. And it could be a version of Fatima using Elgin to communicate with her future self, or another alternate reality version of herself. And then the big boy hits at the end of this episode. We jump back over to the bar with Ethan, Tabitha, and Jade. And Jade ends up showing Tabitha some sketches of the weird totems that they have found scattered throughout the woods. And this jogs Tabitha's memory a bit, and she remembers dreaming and having nightmares about Fromland as a small child. And the 3 red stones near the village that Jade came across are the same 3 red stones that Tabitha used to have nightmares about when she was younger. So now that we know this information about Tabitha, I don't know if this was just a dream. This was definitely some reincarnated theory type of shit for sure. I'm pretty sure that Tabitha has been here before. She was probably even raised here at an earlier time, and this was her as a kid back in Fromland. It may have not only just been a dream for her, it may have actually been her reality at that point in time in her life. So now that we have more supportive evidence of Tabitha's connection to Fromland, I got to know you guys' theories down below, and what do you think this now means? I mean, if she can have her memory jogged, she can actually be more of a resource than even Victor. She may even know more about the town than Victor does. I know a lot of people already feel like Tabitha is Miranda reincarnated, and this actually might be true, especially given the bracelet and all of those connections. So yeah, let's see what you guys think down below, because I'm not going to get too crazy this episode because we got a lot more crazy shit to come. But as always, guys, leave your comments down below. Let's talk about it. And as always, thanks for watching.